The Transformers Studio Series Rise of the Beast figures just keep coming and they don't stop coming. Shout outs to Smash Mouth for that one. Today, we are going to be looking at what is probably my most anticipated figure from the first wave of Studio Series Rise of the Beast figures, that being Battletrap. So, let's see if he stands up to the test of the hype on today's deceptibot9 reviews. Let's get into it. How's it going, everyone? deceptibot9 here, and thank you as always for joining me here on the channel. Now, before we get too far into the review, I'd like to ask, if you like what you see, go ahead, leave me a like. Plus, if you like what you see and you want to stay tuned for all of the future content I've got planned, go ahead, subscribe as well. It does really truly mean a lot to me. Plus, if you want to follow me anywhere else on the internet, you can find me on Twitter at deceptibot9, TikTok at deceptibot9, and on Instagram at deceptibot9 reviews. So, with all that said and done, let's go ahead and take a closer look at Battletrap. Alright, and before we look at the figure itself, as I've done with all the other Rise of the Beast figures so far, I just want to take a quick look at the packaging, and only because it gives us our best look yet at Battletrap in the movie. We saw a couple shots of him in the trailer for Rise of the Beast, but they're very, very quick flashes. But now we can get a better look at him in some of this control art. And he is looking really, really cool. I love this head sculpt. Oh, it's so nice. This design overall is just really, really badass, and I am really, really hyped to see what he does in the movie. I hope he exists for longer than a few seconds because he is really, really cool, and I do not want this design to go to waste. So, enough about the packaging. Let's go ahead and look at the figure itself. Alright, here is Battletrap, all up in his robot mode. And guys, as you can see, this design translated pretty damn well into a toy because he looks fantastic here in his robot mode. Obviously, we'll talk about the other modes and the transformation as their own things here in a few minutes, but for right now, this robot mode, there's so much to like about it, and there's a lot of detail on it. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at some of that detail. We'll start up first with the head sculpt and the head design, which I still do really, really love, and I just love how it turned out here. It's such a cool shape, and I love just everything about the way this turned out. And one thing to note is that these little slits here on his face, the red ones there, if you looked at the box art, those are actually what appear to be his eyes. So that's a really interesting take on a head sculpt, and I think the amount of detail and everything they fit in here with the paint job, this head sculpt looks so cool. It's just, I am so in love with this design overall. I just really hope he gets some good screen time and some good presence because, man, this thing rocks. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the chest here. We can see the truck headlights and pieces right here, plus a little bit of extra in the middle here with some nice silver paint and some nice molded detail on it. The grill here is a faux grill, which honestly I am okay with just because of the way transformation turned out. Obviously, it would have been better if it was the real grill, but I understand why they did it here. But it's got some nice paint applications on it, some nice scrapes and dirtiness, and overall some nice molded detail on it. Moving down to the crotch area and the upper thighs, there's just so much loaded detail everywhere on this guy, and the arms as well. Here you can see some spikes in the back. We got some molded detail up here on the shoulder panels all the way through the arms. There's just a lot of good stuff going on there. The wrecking ball right here looks great as well. It's got a nice little chain molded onto it. Looks really, really cool on the sides as well. Nice detail with some orange paint. On the back, you'll see that here is, the top of the truck with, its racing stripes and its engine block and the clear window, so it looks fine. Honestly, it's not really much of a backpack, so it doesn't really bother me all that much. And you can see some of the detail here on the back as well. Just a lot of exposed. There's not a lot of hollow on him, though, which is really, really nice. These little whatever they're called on the tow truck, the little toe pieces do stick out on the arms on the back. I don't really mind all that much, to be honest. And as it's showcased on the package, you can actually rotate these around, fold them out, and he can use them as a secondary weapon if he wants to. So I think that feature is really nice. So I don't mind having them there on the back. and be a little kibbly, because I think that's accurate to how it'll be in the movie. And coming down, look at the rest of the legs really quick. There's just so much nice detail on him here. There's some here on the inside of the leg, right here on the kneecaps, down here on the shins as well. It's got some silver paint on top of a gray plastic with some orange paint down here on the tops of the feet, I guess, or the ankle as well. So overall, this guy has so much detail built into him. He's just really cool, and he is a great looking piece. He's been so much fun to pose around and to take pictures of. I threw some pictures up on Instagram a couple days ago when I got this guy. So if you want to see some more photos of him in poses, go ahead, check that out as well. But I mean, overall, guys, he's just, he's so cool. I love this robot mode and how it turned out. Now, I will mention there are a couple things about the robot mode, as much as I do love it, that do not, I mean, I guess irk me is the right word. So the arms are a little bit loose. You can't really tell here, but this connection right here I wish was just slightly tighter so they could hold in some poses. They hold very well for the most part, but they do kind of flop around a little bit sometimes. And then the connections here on the back, there's two little tabs that hold this top piece of the truck in. Sometimes if everything is not just lined up so perfectly right, it will come untabbed. But if you get everything lined up right, like here in the chest, make sure everything tabs in properly on the head as well, you shouldn't have a problem, but you just got to make sure all that lines up. All right, and we see it here on his hand. This is literally everything he comes with, but I want to go ahead and show off the wrecking ball accessory really fast as well, because it works very much in the same way as Legacy bulkheads. You just kind of unclip this half and pull it up, and you can take the wrecking ball off. Now, I do wish, because it's got molded chains into it, obviously, and we saw on the package that he's, kind of like throwing it like it's a wrecking ball that comes out of his hand. Like he can shoot it out of his hand, just like Bulkhead from Transformers Prime. And I wish that it was a little bit more prominent on this figure, but I do think this is a pretty solid piece overall. It looks really cool. And if you don't want to have it on his hand, fold it all the way out, and you will see that there are some tabs here on the sides of it, which line up. Let me just remember where oh yeah. So it's this little piece right here that's sticking out of the back. That's where this little slot on the wrecking ball can just slot right in, and it'll just rest right on his back if you want to have some weapon storage. I think it looks a little silly, but I think overall, if that is something you want to do, you can certainly do that. I personally like to keep the wrecking ball in his hand because he wants to destroy. All right, let's cover articulation on this guy really quick, because he does have a pretty good amount built into him. So up here on the head, my favorite thing, the head, it is on a ball joint. Oh, see, I just disconnected the back piece, so that's something you got to watch out for. Again, that's what I was talking about with the thing that kind of irks me a little bit is, that doesn't have the best connection there, especially if you're holding it on the bottom. But anyway, ball joint here on the head, it does go all the way around, just like that. There's not much in the way of tilt, but you can tilt it a little bit side to side. You can make him look up that much, which is not very much. You can make him look down that much, or if you untab it, you can make him look down a whole heck of a lot. Arms go all the way around. They go out about that far. They do swivel up here at the forearm. They bend at the elbow, which is a little bit over 90, so it's pretty good range there. There is nothing in the wrist, though, unfortunately, so that does kind of suck. As we saw with these toe pieces, you can flip them out and around if you want to consider that articulation. I certainly do. I think it's really neat. There is a swivel here at the waist. Legs kick forward that far, pretty great range. They kick backwards, not as far, just due to how the truck piece folds up back there. And they do go out all the way to the sides, so he can get a full split rocking out, which is great. And to finish off the legs, he does swivel up here at the thigh. He does have a pretty good over 90 bend here at the knee, and the feet do swivel all the way in, and they can go down and not very much up there. But if you want to get some toe articulation, you certainly could. All right, let's see how Battletrap looks with a couple other bots, shall we? All right, here's how Battletrap looks with Rise of the Beast Studio Series RC and Studio Series Bumblebee Movie Optimus Prime, just to see how he might be faring against some Autobot enemies. And I have no clue if these characters are going to interact on screen at all. I really hope they do, but here is Studio Series Battletrap with our Studio Series Maximals so far, both of whom I think are tremendous. And of course, here is Battletrap in his live-action debut with Power of the Prime's Battletrap. So what original G1 Battletrap looks like, and I love the heck out of this figure so much. It's really great. Battletrap representation in the past few years has given us a pretty solid live-action version and a really, really great G1 update. All right, enough of that. Let's go ahead and get Battletrap transformed up into his truck mode. Note really quick, you do want to make sure that these spike pieces are as lined up with the orange pieces as possible, because these arms are going to come down and they're going to use all of this to rest in. So if they're not lined up properly here, you are not going to be able to get everything to sit right and flush. So just take note that you do need to make sure those are all flush. All right, back to it. And I'll note when you do this too, you really want to make sure that you gotta get the grill part down there first. Once you do that, if you gotta push and slide it down to make sure it locks correctly. It will tab in on the top of that piece there, but you can't do it from here and then clip that part over. You do have to start down this way. All right, let's finish it up. Here is Battletrap transformed up into his truck mode. Now, I made a couple comments during the transformation, and I want to address the transformation as a whole. It's kind of rough. The first couple times you do it, you really have to learn sort of the specific way to fold certain pieces in. It can be kind of finicky on the procedure of doing certain things, or else it will not line up and you will not get it to tab in for the life of me. The first few times trying to get this figure all tabbed in and all connected was really a mess, especially when it comes to the toe line in the back here and getting the front up tabbed and these arm pieces here. You really have to learn the specific way to fold some of those pieces around, or else it will not line up and it will not match up, which is kind of a disappointment. So I wish maybe they had thrown it at a second chance and seen if they could have fixed some of those issues. But once you kind of get the flow of it and you understand how those pieces move and how they're supposed to connect, all come together in the end, it really is a lot simpler process. And there's things in there I like. I like the way the legs fold up and around. I like how the chest has real truck pieces in it, but it has a faux grill. Like, I kind of like the whole transformation part right there. But when you get to connecting the arms together and putting the top on it, that's where it starts to get a little shaky. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at some of the new details exposed here on truck mode. All right, so coming up here on the front, we can see now obviously how the grill piece all fits together nicely. It's got a GMC logo. This is officially licensed by GMC. We can see here obviously the grill part is a little bit different than the robot mode version, so I do kind of again understand why they needed to make a faux piece for it, and it looks really great up here. And we've got the nice engine block with the red coming out here. Looks really, really cool. The black stripes that we saw on the back of the figure, the nice orange window here because this is all kind of new and in its new spot. These light pieces that were behind his shoulders now fold out around here. I thought that transformation piece is really cool. He's got a horn up there too, just in case. On the sides too, both of the sides are the same, but I love that we get a reference to Bernie Mac, who was, in the first live action Transformers movie here with Bernie's towing an auto body. That's just really neat. The side's got a lot of nice detail on it because of course some of these pieces were pulled from the legs and whatnot. You can see the feet sticking out on the bottom. The chest piece, not a big issue for me overall, but unfortunately the hands are sticking out on the top, which is a bit unfortunate that both of our Voyager figures from Studio Series for Rise of the Beasts have exposed hands in their alt modes. Kind of a bummer, but overall, I mean, it doesn't really harm much of the overall look to me for the most part. But anyway, moving here to the back, there is some nice detail molded in on these pieces here. Plus, we get some tail lights and, of course, the tow line itself here, which the wrecking ball does connect to. And I love that the wrecking ball connects to the tow line because it just makes me feel like he is ready to beat someone up rather than tow them around. So overall, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty nice mode here. On the bottom, you can see some of that robot junk. His face is hiding up back here, his chest down here, the feet down here. There is not a lot of clearance, but he still can kind of slide roll on the bottom there. So that is kind of unfortunate that he can't get flat enough to make some of those wheels go, but he does slide rather than actually roll, which is a bit unfortunate. But I think overall the truck mode looks really, really cool as well. Not as much as the robot mode to me, but it is a nice looking truck mode. So let's go ahead and compare him to some other figures here. Here he is with the Autobot crew members from Rise of the Beast that we saw earlier, RC and Optimus Prime. RC's motorcycle is pretty big because I don't think a motorcycle is that big compared to a tow truck. And when we look at a tow truck versus, a 18-wheeler truck, that could be accurate. I'm not quite sure. I'm no truck expert, but that looks fairly even to me. I think this probably should be a little bit bigger, but there he is with the Autobots. And here he is with the Maximals, who are definitely out of scale, but I think these Maximals are meant to be sized up a lot in the movie based on that shot where we saw, first of all, Primal with humans, and he's a huge-ass gorilla, and B, Cheetor with Bumblebee, where he is way bigger than a Camaro. But overall, I actually really like the look of all these guys together. And of course, here is Battletrap with Battletrap. Obviously, two very different takes on Battletrap. This one is not a duocon, whereas this one is, so we've got two modes here. But, I mean, the little trucks themselves, I mean, not too far off, I guess. I mean, but it is still nice to have a couple different battle traps. All right, and that's going to do it for my closer look at Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Battletrap. So let's go ahead and tow it back up to me for my final thoughts. All right, so what are my final thoughts on Studio Series Rise of the Beast Voyager class Battletrap? Well, I mentioned it a lot through the review. I think he is solid overall. This robot mode is just absolutely killer. It is such a great badass design that I am just absolutely in love with, and overall in robot mode looks really, really great. Truck mode overall is solid as well, has a few problems, with clearance issues on the bottom. Transformation is easily probably the worst part of the figure for me. Unfortunately, I just wish there was certain aspects of it that were done a little bit better, maybe given a second go or a second sort of engineering process done to it. But once you get it figured out, it's not as bad as it is the first couple times. But overall, still really solid. Really excited to see how this guy turns out in the movie. All right, you guys, that is going to do it for my full review of Transformers Studio Series Rise of the Beast Battletrap. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts on this figure down below. I want to talk all things Studio Series Battletrap with you guys down there. And guys, as always, I have been your host, deceptibot9, thank you as always for joining me and watching all the way to the very end. I do really truly appreciate it, and I will see you guys later.